So when it comes down to them wanting to enforce some kind of bill or statement or agenda on their people, they're going to go to the person who's in their organization who know their people better to get that agenda across. So, like I said, I wasn't denying that racism was the way it was in America based off of when it started from the transatlantic slave trade to when it got abolished to how it is today. What I'm saying is today, when it comes to people who want to pinpoint things on just stuff being black and white, we have to look at it now that we're in the age of information. We have the internet. We can talk to other people in different countries, and we see that it's the same way around the world for different people based off of if you're in poverty, if you're middle class, if you're rich, or if you're in the elite. All us in poverty have the same story. I don't care what color you are. And that's what I was saying. So I was saying that I believe that it's more broader than just being a black and white thing to it coming to either people are going to play our game no matter what color you are, or you're going to be excluded no matter what color you are. And so that's where I'm coming from on what me and you and the host were talking about earlier.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds good to me. Okay.
But everything is just really it is, see what it is, where we at now, we have to look at the reality of things. There is a black and white dynamic that goes on in the society. We don't want to admit it, but it is what it is, because you can have, of course, we have different ethnicities, but there's a white agenda and there's a black agenda. Either you with the empowerment of black people or you're not. So, see, the thing is, you have white people. Look at the research that our sister, Dr. Chris Wilson, talked about white and non-white.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, white people, by them being the dominant force at this point, there's always going to be a race issue. So when it comes to them weaponizing these things to attack black people, of course you're gonna have some white people gonna be affected by it, but in every war there's gonna always be called casualties. They found with the casualties. But we gotta always come back to racism is what's going on right now.
I don't totally disagree with you, but if I could build on some points that you said, that's what I was trying to say. Like, it's used to, now in America we can present a lot of racism. We can't present that same thing all over the world towards black people. And what I'm saying is, now I'm not saying that we can't present it in certain cases. I'm talking about overall. And what I'm saying is, when we look at the broader statement, the UN is the United Nations. These are the people who are in power in all 7 continents. All of those people are not just focused on black and white, because all of those people are not black or white, is what I'm saying.
I mean,
now,
what it is that what I'm saying
hold up a second. If we're going to go based on skin color, like me and the other brother was talking about when it comes to melanin.
Hold on, real quick. I like this conversation. So if y'all got time, before we get into the discussion, let's just have this open discussion real quick. Let's just take 5 minutes apiece and go in. So let him go, and then Metu, you go. That way, everybody not talking over everybody, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I'll finish. I don't even need 5 minutes. But now, I was just saying, I agree with what he was saying when it comes to majority of like America and the way that the laws are set in America, with like white people, as in like European white people, being in power to make the rules that they're making. But when it comes to the broader statement of the world, when we look at the UN, let's say Russia, Putin is not as big about white supremacy as, let's say, Trump is. Putin is more worried about what's going on in his country than what he's worried about what's going on in our country. Let's say Kim Jong-un, he's not worrying about black and white supremacy. He's Chinese. He's worried about what's going on in North Korea. So, and to close up my whole point, what I'm saying is, when we look at the United Nations and what their overall agenda is, it comes down to people who are in the elite, what their agenda are, and if the people are going to be with that agenda regardless of what color you are, because believe me, Kim Jong-un is willing to cut out the Korean people who ain't with his agenda, the African people who are at the UN are willing to cut out the Africans who ain't with their agenda, Trump willing to cut out the white folks, and so forth, so on, and et cetera. So I agree with what you were saying when it comes to what you and I are dealing with living here in America. But when we look at the broader statement with what's going on around the world, the elite are not dealing with the same thing in every country. So that's the point I was trying to make.
Okay, I agree to a certain extent with that. But no matter where you go, because see, it's just like in the white community, you have uh, white nationalists and you have also white supremacists. See, white
Right,
nationalists are not looking at a global perspective thing. They just concerned on where they are. They just
right,
want to
right, right,
preserve their race. And then white
right.
supremacists have another agenda, but they're still white. But what I'm saying is, no matter where you go on the face of the planet, wherever the white black dynamic exists, the white on the top and the black on the bottom. It doesn't
I agree
matter
with
if,
that.
sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just ad libbing. I was saying I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, no matter where we go, wherever the white black dynamic, you don't have to be white. See, we gotta realize it was Europeans, they came up with this color thing, okay, to separate people based off skin color. But if you have a mindset of the white supremacists, you're an honorary white person because you got black people who are so-called black conservatives. See, a black conservative is you're playing on team white because the conservative means to keep the status quo in effect. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter about the skin color. It's about a mindset. Or you for brown black
That,
and
that,
brown
that's
people, or you against
that's
black
right.
and brown people.
That's the whole thing I was saying. Are you for the mindset or not? It really doesn't matter. That's what I was saying. No matter what the skin
Right.
color is, if you for their
But
agenda or
see,
not.
that's
That's right.
you guys are bringing up another point, and I'll speak to my brother Metu brought up my hero, Dr. Welsling. She always spoke about a phenomenon and a phenomenon like things that symbols that beget white supremacy or things that tied into like a mental state, like a behavioral science. And that's why she always talked about, she spoke about the unified field theory in psychiatry and what white people did and what white people always love to do is that they put people in a pit and they say, "Ooh, how is he going to act? Or how is she going to act?" And then they say, okay, well, all these races have characteristics, which each person is individual. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say that no two people are alike or different things like that.
Thank you.
We, yeah, we all have differences, and we all have differences of opinion, and we are capable of whatever we put our mind to. However, however, there are certain things that are based in society that make people make certain decisions. Can we agree?
Absolutely.
Can we agree?
Right, right, right,
Okay.
right.
So what I'm saying is now we go into an area of behavioral sciences, behavioral science, and this is what I'm talking about. This is the things like like scientists, like white scientists describe things like lynchings as phenomenons. You know what I'm saying? The Adam and Eve mythology and Nazi swastikas and all this anti-Semitism and all these sexual perversions and homosexuality, just all these things, you know what I'm saying, are different types of behavior energies that signify white supremacy. And these are just, not a lot of them, you know what I'm saying, not all of the things that have been added, but what happens is that we, instead of conceptualizing where we come from, because we don't know, because we're in a different incubator now. We're not in the African incubator where we came from. We're in the African American incubator that we're in now. So now there are certain things that give us certain behaviors. So now they say, look at what these niggers are doing, and they're pointing to us, and look at them in poverty, look at them doing this, and look at them doing that. How do we, because we have a lot of discussions like these, and these are great discussions, but we have a lot of division, and there's a lot of things that are based in belief that bring division between our communities. And so
Right.
how are we as, go ahead.
Now, if I could follow up on what you're saying, right, and like you said at the beginning, it's really not a cultural thing, and it's not a skin color thing. It's based off of an individual. So yes, there's division in the black community. There's division in the white community. There's division in the Jewish community. We can't find no community. I don't care what race, skin color, whatever they are. We can't find absolute agreement nowhere. So
Right.
that shows that now, even though there may be an agenda to hold down a certain people, maybe or maybe not at this point in time, not saying that there was, but at this point, but even though there may be an agenda, we can't find unification nowhere. So it's not like it's nothing unique to the African American community, because even when black people ran the world for the first 3,000 years, based off of what we know in existence, there still wasn't unification. Africa has over 150 countries, and all 150 countries believe something different. And there may be someone or a group of people in those countries who believe the same thing that somebody else believes from another country, but they're not all in unison, is what I'm saying. So we can't sit up here and act like, well, oh, this trait is unique to one group of people, but not unique to the other group of people. Most of these things are just human nature, and based off of who's on top right now, we see that human nature coming out. But no one can convince me or tell me that even when black people were on top at that time, there wasn't corruption, there wasn't slavery, there wasn't, rich or poor, or now this I will defend. When black people were on top, there wasn't racism. When Egypt was running the world and all that stuff was going on, racism didn't exist at that time, so I can vouch for that. But the same type of I cut your throat or this or that, all that stuff still exists. There's nothing new on this earth. So it really doesn't matter who's in power. Now, the agenda may matter, but it really doesn't matter who's in power, because we see the same type of, if you want to call it sin or negative confessions or, whichever law you want to follow, it's still murder, stealing, killing, not honoring our mother and father. All that stuff still goes along. So we can't make it like it's unique to a certain group of people just because they have the power right now.
Right. See, what I'm saying is,
real quick.
What I'm trying to explain to people is,
real quick, man. Too. Let's see what your brother Jerome got anything he want to chime in.
Hello?
Yeah, bro, you there?
Oh yeah. I just had to step out right quick.
Yeah. Did you hear any of this conversation? You got anything you want to add?
I came in about 30 minutes ago, so I got the bulk of it. But what I will say is, I see where everybody's coming from. Some are focused on the situation here in America, the white supremacist agenda, things of that nature. And I think Brother Jacobus, he came with, he's looking at it from a broader spectrum. You know what I'm saying? So I feel where both sides are coming from, and I can't really disagree with either side.
Right. He was right.
Go in.
all right. So what I'm basically saying is, now, yes, you're right. There are divisions in all groups. There's always going to be division, but white people, they have the luxury of having division. Black people, because we're being dominated over another group of people, we don't have the luxury to be divided amongst each other when there's an agenda to kill both sides, is what I'm saying.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. Because like you said, now,
that luxury. Because white people, they can argue with each other all day, but they're still in power. The ones at the bottom that's being subjugated, they don't have that luxury, because the fact that we are arguing amongst each other, that can be used against each other to make things worse.
Matthew said something the other day, and it hit me in my gut so hard that I had to put it on Facebook. We was just talking as we do, 3 or 4 times a week, and my brother he say, white people will support each other even when they wrong. They may disagree with what's taking place, but they gonna support their own. And when we look at George Zimmerman, Darren Wilson, the officers that killed Eric Garner, across the board, Donald Trump, them Republicans can't stand Trump, but they in unison with everything he do. They will support each other even when they wrong, even when they disagree with it, because they have each other's back. The second part of his statement was even more mortifying, but even more profound. He said black people don't even support each other when they right. You remember that, man, too?
Okay, hold up, bro. Can I come in on there?
I remember that. I remember.
Man,
Can I come on there for a second?
Go ahead.
Okay. Now watch this. I agree with you. The Republicans gonna support the Republicans, and the Democrats are gonna support the Democrats. But watch this. Both parties will be about white people. So for him to come with a broad statement and say that white people are going to support white people regardless, and black people don't do that, no, because Democrats don't support Republicans, and both of them are white. So that goes back to what I said. It doesn't matter what the ethnicity is. You're gonna have division regardless. Regardless, you're gonna have division. It's not an ethnicity thing. Both of them are white. Both parties are white. Democrats are gonna trash the Republicans. Republicans are gonna trash the Democrats. Both parties were built by white people. So that goes back to what I was saying. What he said is really an oxymoron statement, and it's really not true because it doesn't matter what culture you are. You're gonna have division regardless. There is no culture that agrees totally with no other person. But I don't care what color you are. That's an ignorant statement.
I think
What I'm saying is,
hold on, Metu. He didn't say that they agreed. He said they're gonna support each other. Metu, go ahead and expound.
what I'm saying is, the Democrat and the
don't support
Republicans. The Democrat Republican Party, that's an illusion. Those are white people.
I totally agree.
Because the Democrats and that's the same party. That's what they say, two wings of the same bird. That's what I'm saying, because they say that Hillary Clinton is a Democrat and Trump is a Republican. But
they friends.
Trump came to Hillary and Bill Clinton's wedding. See, that's just show business. That's just like when you look at wrestling, you will see Triple H beating up on Stone Cold Steve Austin. But at the end of the day, they go drink.
Don't bring up my favorite sport, man.
That's mine too.
It's show business.
Yeah, mine too, man.
That's Broadway. That's not a sport. That's Broadway. You gotta love the Broadway show.
Oh, come on, man.
Now we gonna turn this from a
segueing into wrestling now.
Now we gonna turn this from a spiritual debate to a wrestling debate now.
They make you think that there's a division.
Tell you because I'm ready.
They make
I
you
love
think
wrestling,
that there's a division. There's no division. They make you think there's a division, so where you think, okay, if I vote Democrat, then I don't have to worry. I can get rid of the Republican. You're dealing with the same group of people that have an agenda. Because before the 1960s, black people were voting Republican.
Right.
That dynamic changed. But the Democrats ain't never did nothing for black people.
John F. Kennedy. But go ahead. My bad.
But yeah, that's an illusion. See, when America was starting, then this melting pot, you had the.
You muted yourself, bro.
And they had their own little subdivisions. As the black population grew, that sent on the alert white community. They said, "Oh no, we got to stop this division thing. Let's come together in one block of white to stop these black people from trying to get a leg up." So they got rid of the German community. All these other communities, they all stood on white. And a lot of these people who are white, see, white is a monster. It's a status. It's not a color. So these people get sucked up in that thing, just like the Arabs. They're honorary white people. But when 9/11 happened, what they did, they took their honorary membership away. The Chinese people were honorary white people. And now they're taking their honorary card away from them. We got to understand that there's a game being picked on each other to make you think one way, which is not. Our brother Marcus Garvey said propaganda has killed more people than open warfare.
Woo!
Okay, hold on, we change subject. I want to stay on the same subject of Democrats and Republicans. Now I agree. If you check my my Facebook page, you can go back for probably about 10 years of me saying the same thing. Two sides, two wings of the same bird. But this is where the division come in at among them. Now they have the overall agenda to still stay on top, but the division comes in among them is how they're going to get there. So it still doesn't take away from the division. They may have an overall goal, just like black people. Let's say we come together and we have a goal of we want to stop white police from killing black police. We may all sit down at the same table and have that united agreement, but we're going to disagree on how we get there. So my whole basis, I wasn't denying the agenda. My thing that I was addressing was when the host brought up about it being division among people. So my stand still stay the same, where it doesn't matter what ethnic group it is. They might have a goal to reach, but it's division among every ethnic group, and there's even traitors in ethnic groups. So let's say when it comes to slavery, we may have the Republicans who say, well, hey, we disagree with slavery, and then the Democrats saying we agree with slavery and all that. We still have somebody to turn coat. You know what I'm saying? It was still somebody who was on the black people side. It was still a white person on the black people side who didn't agree with neither party. That's how we got Tea Parties and conservatives and independents. So that shows even more division among the people. There are even people right now who don't even agree with the white agenda. There are white people who disagree with white supremacy. So that goes back to my point. All of them are not in unity, no matter what concept we want to bring up. So
right,
I think
what I've been saying, and I'm saying again, is basically
that too.
We don't have the luxury as oppressed people.
That's what I was getting ready to say, man, too.
We don't have that luxury to
Yeah,
have that division. That's all I'm saying. Because when you look at, just like with our brother Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, now they was going the same place in two different buses. Now, it don't matter which bus you get on, the agenda is the same. See, when you got white supremacists and white nationalists, their whole thing is subjugating and controlling black people. No matter how they get there, no matter how many is on the Republican side or the Democrat side, the agenda is the same. It don't matter about how to get there; it's they get there. We don't have the luxury.
So what about
our oppressor doing it?
So what about and sorry to cut y'all boys off, man. Y'all having a good discussion, but
you good.
When you spoke on white nationalists, like y'all remember the Rainbow Coalition, right?
Yes, I remember certain aspects of it. Yes.
So didn't that actually consist of white nationalists and Black Panthers coming together? I know it was a Latino group in there too. I just forget the name. Wasn't their overall objective to overthrow basically the oppressor? And we know who the oppressor is.
I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to speak on that because I haven't read too much about it. I've seen it before. I've seen it mentioned. I've heard a couple of people mention it, but I don't think I'm qualified to speak on that. I won't speak on that.
Right. See, I get what you're saying with the Rainbow Coalition, but it was a mistake in nature. It was a mistake in our movement because we thought that the poor whites, the poor Latinos had some kind of similarity with black people. See, a poor white to a white person, to most white people, them being poor mean they only got $5,000 in the bank. That's poor.
I disagree, bro. Hold up, man. We having white friends.
I disagree with that too.
I have white friends, and I will agree with them because
I have poor white friends.
Hold on. There's a difference between and then y'all chime in.
What I'm saying is there's a difference between a poor white person and a poor white person has wealth that black poor white people do not have. They don't have to have a dime in the bank, but because of their skin color, they can get access to resources that a black person can't get, even if they have the collateral.
That's false, bro. That's
false.
That's facts, man. That's facts.
I'm sorry.
Let it go, and then you're gonna go in.
I'm saying there's a difference between the two. See, even when you have the so-called Rainbow Coalition of people coming together with the Latinos and the Puerto Ricans, it sounds good. But these other groups do not want to see you as a black person get further than them. You grab what I'm saying? Look at the women liberations movement. Got all these sisters got into this thing of talking about, we independent, we want to do on our own, we don't want no man to tell us what to do. Black women have not been under the domination of black men, so that movement was really white women fight with they men, but they never came together with black women to help them liberate themselves. Because white people do not want to see you above them. If you have a job and you just get there and then you become supervisor, that white boy that you've been friends with, he's gonna have a problem with you being the supervisor over him, and he's been working there longer than you. We got to understand the mindset of white supremacy. It's not really about color. We got to understand how this thing works. Read the ISIS paper by Dr. Francis Cress Wells, and then we can have a better discussion when it comes to this thing that's called racism, white supremacy.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick before you go, brother. I have a friend. His name is Chris, and he's definitely as white as they come. He had a situation to where he hangs out with black people now. At first, he hung out with meth head white people, who said dude and, talked about what color the sky is as it got hot. Now he hangs out with black people who rap and who have career ambitions to, you know what I'm saying, be the next, you know what I'm saying, big thing. There was a situation in which the police pulled up in front of my studio when they were outside, when we were outside. They took one of my friends, they put him on the ground. He was just literally getting off he was getting off of his bike, and three white officers. It was 2 cars that pulled up, 2 got out of one and 1 got out of the other. And they accosted him saying that they got a phone call saying that it was a guy on the bike that was singing too loud or was disturbing the peace in the neighborhood. So they literally got out and they threw him on the ground. Now, Chris runs up to them, and I'm watching this, okay? He runs up to them, and Chris is poor, okay? So he's in the mind frame, like the brother is saying, oh, you know, I have white friends, they poor too. Metu is absolutely correct, and this is how it shows. So he runs up. Now, if any other black person runs up to an investigation with 3 white officers, what's going to happen? So this guy, he's running up. He's grabbing, listen to me, he's grabbing the police officers. Get the fuck off my boy, excuse my language. Get the F off my boy. Get the F off my boy. Get up off my boy. And they're like, sir, calm down. Sir, calm down. Pause. If that was a black person, what would have happened? This is something that it's an inalienable right that they have, that he recognized even because he came afterwards when that whole situation was done. And he told me, he said, Jay, he said, if you would have went out there, they would have tried to kill you. He said, but I just realized what I did. I don't know, I panicked and I walked forward and I ran and they were on Jay and I just couldn't believe that they were doing that to him and he hadn't done anything. And, you know, they were scuffing up his face and putting their boot on his neck and stuff like that. But at the same time, this is something that as a black man, we live every single day. But it was something that was new to him, and he was poor and he lived in the hood and he listened to trap music and he messed with black women. But when it came to that situation, he got a glimpse of what life, really is like, for how we live. And he would not trade it for the world. I asked him, I say, you know, there's a lot of white people who say it's we believe in Black Lives Matter. We believe in this. Okay, that's good to believe in it. But would you trade places with me? Then it gets quiet. And that's when we identify white fragility. White fragility is very important and is very easily triggered. That's how I always roll with my white friends or white people who I associate with. I can't really call them friends because every single time that I put them through the white test or the white fragility test, they fail because they don't understand.
Even our brother Chris Rock said, he said, out of all the money I have, there's not a white man in this audience that will switch places with me
at all. That's a perfect example of, we live in the hood, Kings. You guys on the other side, Kings, we live in the hood. Like I grew up down the street from this guy. We were in the hood. You hear me? We were jumping gates and running from dogs. This is my friend from Yay High, and he is a Caucasian man. He is Tamu.
Okay, let me speak on that for a second, bro.
This is what happens. What happens is you might have a white person. See, children don't know anything about racism. That's something that's taught.
That too. Let Trust get in real quick.
Okay, let's speak on that for a second. Okay, now it seems like, you know, you're pulling out individual things from individual people, such as Chris Rock or your friend. Like, for example, I could have a friend. I can name the same situation. I can say I got dunked on the ground, and I can say my white friend got dunked on the ground just like me. We both broke out written. Our individual personalization of certain situations doesn't give us the right to make a stereotype statement. For example, that's like a white person saying all black people are thugs. We would all disagree with that. I'm 35 years old. I've never been locked up. I've been with my wife 18 years. I'm the only boyfriend she's ever had. I'm the only man she's ever been with. I'm the only husband she ever had. She's never had sex with any other man besides me. Just because I don't know any other women like my wife, I can't sit up there and say all black women are whores. Just because I don't know, but I can use my wife as an example for people who say, oh man, all black women are thoughts. All black women cheat. I can use my wife to say, well, hey, I got a black woman who's never had no man but me. So in that same way, I can't put a broad statement and say, oh, well, all white people are going to be against you. I have several white friends. I go to a multicultural church, and before I went to the church, I was in the rap game. I know a lot of producers, a lot of editors, a lot of other rappers, white people, I'm saying, and all of us are on the same level. We've been places, did things, and when we came to cops, we've been included by black cops. That black cop didn't treat me no different than he treated that white person. We've been included by white cops who treated that white man like he was just like one of us. So none of us can sit on here and make a broad statement and say, well, all white people are just looking to get ahead of you. Or Chris Rock can't sit up there and make a broad statement and say there's no white person who would trade places with me, because I have a white homeboy right now who would trade places with Chris Rock in a minute, who don't care nothing about his skin color. All he would see is the money that Chris Rock has, and he can care less about him being white and Chris Rock being black. All he sees is the money. He don't care how the police gonna treat him or none of that. All he sees is that I'm able to get girls, I'm able to get drunk, I'm able to get high. So it's really a faulty statement to make it seem like all white people have a certain mindset in the same way that all white people can make it like all black people have a certain mindset. All of us are not stitched the same. I don't care what color you are. And that's what I've been trying to say since the beginning. You can bring up different scenarios of who did what and how did what. Now, I don't disagree with white supremacy. I have evidence for white supremacy. I have all that. My point is that we can't put that on every white person. That's my whole point. We can't put that on everybody. That's
what I'm saying is white supremacy is it's something that is taught. So it's not
but
that
every white person doesn't have that teaching. Is what I'm saying, bro.
What I'm saying is white supremacy is taught. So if you got
not to every white person, bro.
That they are taught.
That's my point.
It's taught to us, it's taught to them.
Listen,
white people will always know that there is a privilege that they have that you will not have.
Listen. You're saying it's taught. I agree with that. I'm saying it's not taught to all white people. Watch this. If a white person says, well, dang, man, all black people in the 80s smoke crack. Even though we know that the crack epidemic started in the 80s, that's not a true statement, bro. So for you to sit here and say that white supremacy is taught, that's true. Just like crack was introduced to most black people in the 80s. You are wrong to say that all white folks are taught that. That's not true.
Any white person that goes through the educational system of today is taught white supremacy, whether it be inadvertently or anything.
Thank you. I agree with that.
They are indoctrinated with that.
Watch this, though. All white folks haven't been through the educational system, fam. That's what I'm. It doesn't matter what.
You don't have to go to school.
An educational system doesn't have to be a school.
Okay.
It's something that.
Okay, let me say this. Okay, wait. I agree. They make us go to school. Where in a curriculum in school where every white person is taught white supremacy?
No, I didn't say it was taught in school. I'm saying it's not taught in school. That is the contrary of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
My bad. Because the thing is, if you have a white, but let's go back to the scenario. You got a white child that was raised with you all that time, but when y'all get older, this system is gonna let that white boy know he's white and you're black. So he's gonna know he has more privilege in this thing than you. It's not even about, okay, I want to be like Chris Rock because he got more money. He will never have in his mind, because there's a good documentary you should look at. It's called White Like Me by a white man named Tim Wise. Phenomenal work. And he shows how a lot of these scholarships are over 91% are acquitted or are given to white kids. Most of these scholarships. Mm-hmm. A lot of white people don't know that. So they find this stuff out later. See, white people.
There you go. A lot of white people.
It's not about going to school. A lot of black people don't go to school, and we learn a lot of negative things. You don't have to go to school to learn about Christianity. You can learn it at home.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, hold on. Okay, now, if I can piggyback on what you said, you're still making my point, Sam, what I said earlier. There are white people, even if they go to school and find out that they white and they got more power than everybody and all that. Even though I disagree with that, but let's just take that narrative for argument's sake.
You disagree with there being situations in life to where a white person and a black person will be in a negative situation, and the white person will be treated better, and then they won't have an epiphany of mind. You disagree with that?
No. I don't disagree with certain situations. I don't agree with that, but that's not my point. Okay, back on to what I was saying. The other brother said that a person goes to school, or even if they don't go to school, they can look up this certain white brother philosophy, and they still know that they're better than a white person. I mean, better than a black person. I just said earlier, you even have white people who disagree with white supremacy. So even if they're taught that, doesn't mean they agree with it. So there's no way, shape, or form, no matter what incident you bring up, no matter what school, no matter who taught it, no matter none of that, there's no way you can make a stereotypic statement as in saying that all white people feel that way. You can't make a stereotypic statement saying that all black people eat chicken. You can't make a stereotypic statement saying that all Chinese people eat noodles. Those are stereotypic statements, fam. That's hold on, wait. That's the only thing I'm trying to get you to understand, fam.
Brothers, hold on. Let me add a little my little 2 cents to this, and then I'm gonna let y'all close on this.
Yeah, I want to go live.
And then we're gonna get into the discussion. But this is what I want to say to that. Now, for me personally, I believe I'm the oldest person in this panel at 43.
Yeah.
One thing about me is I'm very open to being friends with anybody who show themselves friendly. White, black, Latino, Asian, it don't really matter to me. I listen to all kinds of music. I listen to rock. I listen to alternative. I listen to country, jazz. You look on my title and my YouTube music, I got some of everything from Johnny Cash to Ray Charles to Three Doors Down to Tupac, whatever. You understand? So I'm giving the caveats to the fact that I'm not caught up in racial stereotypes. I'm not. I'm pro-black. I'm Pan-African. I'm for the betterment of my people. But I'm not one of these people who say all white people either. I'm not. So and some of my constituents feel a way about that. So I want to put that out there first and foremost. So
if I can pat you on the back, brother. If I can pat you on the back.
No, it's cool. But let
I'm coming from a personal point. I've had opportunity to come on a lot of platforms, and that's what you're stating right now is one of the reasons why I decided to come on your platform, bro. Because soon as Jerome told me about you, I watched all your videos, bro, and you're not biased, bro. You do give people a chance. You don't care where they come from, none of that. And if I could pat you on the back for a second, even if you don't want it or not, I'm gonna pat you anyway. That's why I came on your platform, bro, because you're not biased, bro. Real talk.
I appreciate it. So my point is this I learned this the hard way, and I'm not gonna lie to you, but it broke my heart. So I got a friend whose name I won't reveal because he do check in on me from time to time, but I had to separate myself from him because we just became diametrically opposed. He's from Minnesota, he's white, and I was the first black person who he became friends with. Like his father in particular was racist, and he didn't have any interaction, like real interaction with black people. He had a lot of stereotypical views. Like the first time he heard Tupac, he heard me playing it in the mailroom. And so we got real close to the point where when his wife left him, I tell this story all the time. I had my wife for Thanksgiving. We made him food. I took it down to the South Side and made sure he ate. You know, this was my friend. I believe that he would jump in front of a train for me and I would do the same for him. So the Mike Brown situation happens in Ferguson. And, you know, like many people, I was affected by it. I lived in Ferguson as a young man. My sister-in-law lived in the very apartments where our brother was murdered. It happened on my wedding anniversary. So this year I'll be married 23 years. So this was now 6 years ago. So that would have been, I think, our 15th or 14th, something to that effect. And so we getting ready to leave to go out for our anniversary, and this is popping up all over Facebook, and we can't believe it. And so I wasn't one of the people who was on the front line, but I was out there protesting. You know, my queen and my kids started to worry for my safety, so I fell back. But I know people who are on the front line, people like my brother on this platform right now, Metu, brother who contributed to the platform, Nasu. My teachers, Chief Saber, Maurice, and Neferu, they were on the front lines of this thing. My sister, Not a Black, who y'all be getting to know on the platform. She was on the front lines. So my point being, I made a comment and I was talking about, you know, how disgusted I was at how St. Louis County Police Department and Ferguson Police Department handled the entire thing. And my friend gets on my post and says, well, and I'm gonna, you know, he used my government name. Well, Doug, Mike Brown was no angel. And I'm reading it, and I know for a fact this man has never, like, he may have rolled through Ferguson once. I know he didn't know this boy from Adam, but you're gonna say he wasn't an angel. So my retort was, I didn't realize being an angel was a prerequisite to live. Well, it's not, but we have to look at the facts. We don't know the facts. Well, he stole something. I say, okay, he stole something, but when he was approached by the officer, eyewitnesses said he put his hands up and he was at least 8 feet away from the car. Why did he deserve to be shot? And he couldn't answer. But this is when I learned that he was going out of his way to defend that white man for killing that Black boy with no facts, no knowledge of the situation, except for this Black boy allegedly robbed a store. So because you robbed a store of some cigarettes, you deserve to die when you put your hands up. He had no other knowledge of it. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, Dan, you need to get off my post, because, you know, some of my brothers and sisters was, I just said his name, but anyway, I'm like, you need to get off my post, because some of my brothers and sisters was getting highly upset. And so he inboxed me like, I'm sorry if I upset you. Well, it's a little past that now. And we had dialogue back and forth for a minute as he was trying to convince me why he felt justified to say what he said. But to this day, this was 2014, it's now 2020, I can't find justification for it. And since I can't find justification for it, I can't find justification for continuing the same type of relationship I had with him. I work with a white man who is, by all accounts, he is a cool white man. My truck broke down. He knew he didn't live far away from me. He offered to take me home several times. He has an interracial son, my sister, who he trying to help raise. He want me to talk to his son because his son identifies as Black, and he, you know, at 13 years old, he pro-Black, and everybody know I'm pro-Black at my job. So he thought, you know, I could help him with some things. He voted for Trump. And so we got in the subject. Now, this is a man who grew up with Black people. His son's godfather is Black. He from Fulton, up near Columbia. This man was an alderman, a Democratic alderman up there, his son's godfather. So his politics lean left, but this individual voted for Trump. So he's been around Black people his whole life. So we on the subject, but he voted for Trump. So we on the subject of why he voted for Trump, and he said it was purely from what the economic benefits would be. All right, fine, no big deal. But we get on the subject of reparations and how ridiculous he think it is. Well, why do you think it's ridiculous? It's been too long. It's been too long. Yeah, like how too much time has passed. I say, did you think too much time had passed for the Japanese people who got reparations because their ancestors was put in internment camps during World War II when Japan attacked the United States? I didn't know about that. I got to do some research. I said, what about the Native Americans who got it because of mass genocide and mistreatment that they suffered at the hands of this government? They got sovereign land, tax breaks on casinos, and a plethora of other benefits. Did you think too much time had passed? I didn't know that was a form of reparations. Indeed it is. did you think too much time had passed? The Jewish people who America had nothing to do with the Holocaust, but they pushed harder than anybody for the UN to make sure not only did Jews get reparations for what happened to them during the Holocaust, but that they got their country, that they took that country that they took from the Palestinians, that they got that. America made sure that happened. What's my point? Black people are the only people who, when we talk about reparations for the mistreatment, the barbaric treatment of our ancestors during chattel slavery in the antebellum South, during Jim Crow, during the lynchings that followed Jim Crow, we the only people who are told too much time passed or they don't know how they could do it. So he studied, even after I give him all of this evidence, this white man who grew up with Black people, his son's godfather is Black, he has his son's mother is Black, his son is Black. He's still fighting against reparations for Black people, and he finally admits, I don't think you guys should get it because I grew up poor. I said, what do you growing up poor got to do with Black people getting reparations for the way they was treated? How you gonna give Black people something and you're not gonna give it to me? Your people weren't enslaved. Your ancestors weren't enslaved. Like, well, how would they know which Black people to give it to? You take a DNA test, you prove your lineage, period. Not all Black people were slaves, but the ones who can prove their ancestors were slaves, they should get reparations. Now, I know it would likely never happen, but that's my argument. But his argument was simply, if you're not gonna give it to a poor white person who grew up poor, you shouldn't give it to a Black person, despite what Black people went through. So my point in bringing those two scenarios up, from these individuals who by all accounts are good people, who are not racist, who by all accounts have no hatred or guile against Black people, when it comes to Black people benefiting or being treated a particular way, they bite back against it on instinct, it seems. And that, every time it happens, it takes me aback. And I'm like, it never ceases to amaze me, because I'm like, wow, even at the core, I feel, I have no feeling, no sentiment that this man despises Black people. But the very thought of Black people getting a leg up above him bothers him. The man was turning red during the conversation. And so my point to y'all, to the brother, is I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I do feel there is, not in all, because I haven't met all, but in the people I've met, there's a little bit of white fragility and white fear that they have animus against Black people in this country, whether it was taught, whether it was picked up as time went along. We could talk about that, but it's definitely something there where they have an issue with us moving forward in power in this country.
Okay, can I say something to that?
Go ahead.
Now, I'm not knocking the person that you came in contact with who felt that way, and all the other many white people who do feel that way, right? There are Black people who feel that we shouldn't get reparations. There are white people who feel that we should get reparations.
Okay.
So back to my original point, when I said we can't stereotype nobody, even based off of our individual experiences, it doesn't matter what scenario neither of us can bring up. If I can bring up any scenarios just like I'm pretty sure y'all other brothers can. Neither of us can still stereotype no other ethnicity group under no banner by no means. I don't care what it is. So, I mean, it still goes back to my original point. Like, so like I said, if we want to use white supremacy, reparations, police, whatever, we can find a person of that same race who disagree or a person of that same race who fought for it or whatever level you want to put it on. So it still goes back to my original point, even from that we can't say that all white people stick together or Chinese or black or white or none of that. Just like I said an hour ago, it don't matter what argument y'all bring, what situation y'all bring up, the fact is the same. There's division in every ethnicity group. So we can't say that all white people feel a certain way about white supremacy or none of that.
Then can we agree then? So it's just like if we were in a room of full of snakes, and we know that 10 of those snakes don't want to kill us, but we know that the rest of them do. Are we supposed to let our guard down? So what is the situation with that? How are we supposed to handle that? So we're supposed to erase this particular this broad scenario is what you're saying. We're supposed to erase this.
No. I would say that snakes are not human, so they don't have logical reasoning. So
oh my goodness, it was an analogy. Let's play semantics. I'm in the mood to play semantics.
Let him go, Kim Ryan, and jump back.
So I'm in the mood to play semantics today. That's great. Let's play semantics.
So it's not that all 9 snakes would just want to bite you.
Let's play semantics. I love that.
No.
That's great.
I'm making a point. I'm
not with.
Fine.
We're gonna stay on this for about 15 more minutes.
I'm ready to go now, but yeah, I'm ready to. Okay, that's cool.
Let's let Trust make his point, and then Kimra, you jump back in.
Okay. Now, I wouldn't think that the snake scenario analogy that you use is a good analogy to use because, as you already know where I'm going with this. Snakes are not human, so not that only 9 of them would want to bite you, all 10 of them are going to want to bite you. So that's not a good analogy. When it comes to people, human beings who make reasonable and logical thoughts, there's no way of getting around that there's no ethnicity, race, or general, however you want to define it. There's no one group of people who are all on the same page at all times, period, point blank.
Well, I will go to the research of our sister, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She breaks it down because she's a behavioral scientist. She breaks it down into 3 categories. You have non-white, white supremacists, and white supremacist suspect. Now, not all white people are white supremacists, but as a black man, I don't have the luxury of saying, you know what, let me act like there is not a system that's set up to create a mindset of people to do some stuff to me. Matter of fact, let me give you a historical framework. During the 18th century, resources was going to be allocated to the Native Americans. White men had a problem with reparation being given to these Native Americans. They decided to, and they said the same thing. They were like, you know what? Why they getting reparation and I'm not getting reparation? So they decided to start paying the people who was giving reparation to these Native Americans $5. They became what's known as $5 Indians, so that they can get reparations. Oh, and get so not a lot of the people who are Native Americans, they're not even Native Americans. They are honorary white people who pay $5. Now they get resources allocated to them. They get property given to them. They get free college education. There's a lot of this that you got to understand. I'm not saying all white people are racist. What I'm saying is, as a black man, I can't act like there's not a system that this guy may or may not been affected by. So you are a suspect until I find out otherwise.
All right, okay. Now, can I agree with you for a moment?
Let Kim Rob build for a minute, and then we'll jump back to you.
Okay. What's your name, brother? The one that just got through talking.
My name is Metu, brother.
Metu, okay, yeah.
So once again, I spoke about behavioral science. We see, since the snake analogy was bad and the semantics were definitely played, we were not talking about the intellect of said animal or anything like that, but we are talking about the majority, because I just want to make that clear. So we are talking about the majority. There are a majority of white people who exhibit racist behaviors. There's a majority. Can you agree with that? Not saying that all, but there are a majority.
No, I wouldn't agree with that either. But
wow.
Notice here. Wait. But notice you're moving the goalpost. So go ahead. I disagree with that too, though.
Okay.
Now I would say that individual. I would say that individual. I mean, I just got to be honest, bro. I can't say that all black people like basketball, bro. I don't like basketball. I'm 65 and I can't dunk, bro. So I can't sit there and say majority. I'm just being honest. So I can't. Hold on, watch this. So I can't say that majority of 65.
You gotta stop this whole thing.
Hold on, wait. So I can't.
You don't like basketball.
Yes, I'm 65.
I'm ending the debate, y'all. I'm ending the debate. I appreciate you having me on the back.
He said we done.
But we got
It's just like the wrestling. We said we done.
Hold up, bro. This is my point. I'm 65, right? So, and I can't dunk, bro, and I don't like basketball. So I can't sit here and say the majority of 65 people can dunk when I'm 65 and can't dunk. So I have to disagree, bro. I'm just being honest, bro. I'm sorry. I don't
think that the basketball analogy is good because we're talking about a game that's played by leadership. So I think that we were talking about actually a human psyche as far as humans being able to do a decision. So I think the basketball analogy was bad. But what I will say is this.
I give you that, brother. But I still disagree. I don't think the majority. Right? No,
I that's fine. That's fine, and you definitely can maintain that. But however, I'm ready to get to this belief and knowledge. I'm ready to get to that. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, me
because
too.
We'll agree to disagree with this.
Everybody ready? Yeah, because I feel like we got. I feel like we got a debate with Metu or Kimra with our brother Trust on his platform on this one. So I think we setting up for another powerful dialogue. So let's any closing remarks on this particular subject before we move on to the discussion.
Oh, no.
What I would say is read Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Joy DeGruy. Read that, Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder, and also read the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And then after you read that and dissected it, we will be able to have a dialogue about what it is that you agree or disagree based off other people who have done a global perspective as it relates to this system called racism, white supremacy. Because a lot of times we get racism mixed up with prejudice. Prejudice and racism is two different things. It's not the same thing because really there's no such thing as black racism. See, by definition, black racism is it's really just name calling. All this black man called me a crackhead at Starbucks. So there is no black racism. So read Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
You disagree with black racism? You believe you will take a position that there is there's
no such
racism?
No. Wait. Let me defend.
After you read those two books, we can talk.
I'm not just talking about. But I can't say I haven't read them. Hold up. Based off the definition of the word racist, a person who hates another race. My daughter's boyfriend. Based off the definition of.
That's not the definition of racism. That's not the definition of racism.
Of the word.
Racist and racism.
If you mean another definition.
Metu, let Trust go real quick. I want to hear this.
If you mean another definition, then my bad. But based off the definition that I'm about to use now is what I'm saying. If you mean something different, then forgive me. Based off of racism, as in hating another race. Disliking another race? Oh, anybody can be racist. That's not a colored thing.
That's not racist. That's not
racist.
Hold on. What Trust? Was you done?
Huh?
Were you finished?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, what I'm saying is that what you just said is not racist. There's a difference between being a racist and racism. Okay, these are two different things. Racism is a system. Racist ain't nothing, and really when it comes to the thing racist, I don't see nothing wrong with it because the word, look, when you break up the words, the word ist means the ability, the amount of effort you put into the thing. So if you put a lot of effort and playing a piano, you're a pianist. A lot of energy into chemistry, you're a chemist. Or a violinist. That's just the amount of energy you put into a thing. So I put a lot of energy into my race. So but we got to understand what it is. We keep amalgamating racism and prejudice as though they're the same thing, and it's not.
But
you also have to have power in order to be a racist.
Absolutely.
So which definition are we using? Are we talking about racism or racist?
Okay, listen, hey brothers, check this out. How about
I kind of want some clarification, host, if you don't mind, bro.
We got our brother Trust. How about we set up another discussion with one of y'all two brothers about a couple of these issues at another date?
Just read those 2 books, and then we can come back and have a nice, intelligent dialogue.
I don't.
So we can have a consensus on what it is that you're talking about.
I think the brother made some interesting points. I think y'all made some interesting points as well. I think that this is something that we could actually expand on, and I feel like it's definitely a topic where we can have some more powerful dialogue if y'all open to it. So I really think that we should continue this at another time, and then we can jump into our original subject matter. But I definitely enjoyed this back and forth. So right now, I'm gonna go grab me another drink, and when I come back, let's get it popping.
Okay, brother who just got done speaking, when you was talking the first time, did you bring up racist or racism?